My name is Erwin Ordóñez, and I haven't directed an episode of television yet.
Our icebreaker usually is, what is your hot take in the entertainment industry? Could be your job, could be about a specific film, just anything related to media. What is your hot take?
My hot take. Oh man, I didn't even think about this one.
And if anyone has one ready.
Yeah, if anyone has one ready, so I can think of one.
I have one in the crapshoot. You know the whole, in Marvel, the whole saying of Thanos is right. Of people like trying to make that like a meme of like, he was actually right. I think Thanos is only right in a capitalistic understanding of society. And I'm sorry for going, this is not what the usual hot takes are.
No, that is a hot take because a lot of people think of it like, what? And also, why didn't he just wish for more resources? Okay, so
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just saying,
But he doesn't do wishes. He's not a.
Well,
not
with
a
Infinity
genie.
Stones. Yeah, but instead of, well, you can't, what would you call it when you make the decision with the Infinity
you just
Stone?
like, yeah, I mean, it that's what I'm saying, where it's like he could have easily just like snapped his finger and decided, oh, we just have more resources, or we just have, but it's like, I think it's only relatable if you see it with a capitalistic, someone must lose so someone else gains kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, for me, I don't think that's necessarily true or right, but it's in the capitalistic structure. I think that's, sorry, I think my hot takes go more and more Joe Rogan-y every time we start doing it.
I mean, it's a good one, so I agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's just going to be I love hot Joe Rogan.
Hot Joe Rogan. I'll take that.
if we're staying on the topic of superheroes, I don't know if this is a hot take, I guess, but I don't think the bubble has burst yet. I'm still a big fan of it. I think, unfortunately, we're getting a lot of it, but I don't think the bubble has burst. We just need a lot more good content.
Bubble as far as what bubble are we?
The superhero bubble.
Superhero
Yeah,
bubble.
like the superhero movie genre. I don't think it's burst yet. I think it could. If it's about to, and it could, but I feel like it's still. A lot of people like to say that it already bursted.
So what are you wanting to see from it? I think that is a hot take.
I look as cliche as it sounds, just quantity over quality. Sorry, quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time that there were a lot coming out back to back, and I think there was some sort of exhaustion. But it doesn't necessarily mean that people are over it. I think Guardians 3 was an example that proved that people still want to go see good movies. As long as they're good, people will go and will show up and watch it.
Yeah.
So focus on that character. I've always been a character guy, regardless of genre, regardless of movie or whatever. If you focus on character, regardless of how much your budget is, you will have something good.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Oh, everyone's looking at me.
I'm trying to think of one. I still don't have one, I don't think.
I'll stick with the Star Wars theme for today because
Okay.
it is
It's May the 4th.
May the 4th,
May-
everyone.
May- yes.
May the 4th be
We
with you.
changed the poster for y'all.
I think the old prequels are better than the original 3.
Okay.
Oh my God.
that is a hot take. Okay.
Okay. Explain yourself.
Yeah.
They're way more fun. They took a lot of risks. Some of them didn't pay off, but they're fun. There's wild things going on. It pushed the boundaries in a lot of ways. It felt like there's no sister kissing, and they just captured the imagination way more. I mean, it's obviously a generational thing because I was around when those came out, but
Yeah.
I just think they're wilder and more dramatic and in some ways better executed in that way. They're more fun.
I would say I don't agree with you, but I did watch Empire Strikes Back recently, maybe 3 weeks ago, and it was the first time I watched it where I felt like it was aged, which I was like, gosh, it's now, it's 2024, and now it feels aged, which is a testament of its own because it was 81 when it came out. But like some of the graphics just didn't work for me, and I was like, oh shit, like.
Yeah.
Throughout, like even like a couple years ago, it was still like I was still like engaged with it. But maybe it is because I've seen it so many times where it's like, okay, that's a special effect.
Which version did you watch? I guess
Whatever was on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay, so it's
Probably
the
the
one.
like brushed up one then.
Yeah.
The best. Yeah, and I mean we got like a Coruscant, right? That's a new one. We got Naboo. We got like way more spaceships. We got way more planets, way more world building, and that's kind of what I like about them. They just went hard on the world building.
Yeah, look, it's very fun. I love Star Wars. I love every single one of them. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think the lore as a whole, I'm a huge fan of it. Like, if you just focus on the lore of the story without actually focusing on each movie, I think it's a really good, well-told story.
General Grievous, I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah, I just got Nolan to start saying General Kenobi.
Oh yeah, you did that when we were walking in. Yeah.
So I'm trying to get him into it. He doesn't sit down and watch movies, but after I taught him how to say that line, we watched at least 30 minutes of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. I'll take what I can get. Yeah.
How do we feel about Padme's death? I always felt like it was unsettling to me that she just willed it. Nothing happened. She just was like, it's over.
She couldn't
It's
live
over.
anymore.
That is crazy. She was fine 2 seconds ago. And then he would like, I guess because it's the driving force for like, what's his name? I can't even remember his name. Anakin, yeah. Anakin like being like fully like going psycho. And I was just like, girl, if you just lived like
they took a risk, Sam.
If you just lived, just willed to live, maybe just 2 seconds, just 2 more seconds.
She had a broken heart.
I know, but that was crazy. She's like seen as such like a powerful woman. She was just like, no, I'm out.
My man left me.
I'm out. I was like, what?
I'm out of here.
Which is crazy. That to me, when I watched the first time, I was like, are you actually shitting me right now?
Well, you know, the funny thing is because that came out in 2005, I think I was like 12. I should have known better. But when I first watched it, I thought that he killed her by accident. Like,
Well,
I don't
he
know
did. He choked
He
her.
choked
Yeah.
her, but like looking at it now, he didn't choke her hard enough for her to die.
He choked a pregnant lady.
Yes,
like,
no, that's still bad. That is
I'm
no,
still defending
it's
it.
bad. Yes, choking bad, but like she didn't die.
She didn't die because of the choke.
but enough for her to be like, it's over.
He's choking 3 people at once.
That is true.
That's a lot of life to.
No, for sure. The choking is bad.
And people die during pregnancies. It's not crazy,
my
even in
God.
a world far, far away. Maybe that was it. And they were
was
just
the
like,
thing.
it's more romantic if it's a broken heart. But really, it was like something ruptured. Like, we don't want to tell them that. It's kind of,
We don't want to say we don't have the science yet.
Yeah. I mean, that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Do you guys
I
think
would've
they
taken it.
talked about the names before? Or because she just comes up with the names on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
So I've always been curious. Like, I always imagine them
felt
like
like so
sitting down thinking about the names. What about
man.
Luke?
Yeah, like that's what they're shooting the shit. Like just like before.
Yeah, Luke in a world where Obi-Wan exists
Yeah.
and General Grievous
Yeah.
and
it was
like
between Jeff and Luke.
yeah.
And they're like,
At least they didn't do the Harry Potter route where
Yeah.
it's like Albus Severus Potter or something.
yeah.
that's too much thinking about it ahead of time. You're like, well,
I like
they had
that
fights
guy.
about
I
who
like
it should
that
be,
one.
so they just did all of them. Anyway, Sam, your hot take.
I don't know. The first thing that comes to brain, I think, is like I don't know if I necessarily believe separating the artist from the art. I think like sometimes we forgive people, especially in entertainment, like because we revere their like work so much that they've contributed. I guess a prime example is like J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, especially with her political views come to light. I think there needs to be accountability. That person is a person. Yes, they created something like great and stuff, but it's also about like intention and their thought behind it too. And I think like, and I am such a big Harry Potter fan, so I feel kind of conflicted with like stuff like this, but it's like, and also like Quentin Tarantino is another great example of that. It's just like, I love Kill Bill. I think that is, those 2 movies are so fun and like great cinema, but God, he is such a freaking monster.
He's a weirdo.
And I
He is a
feel
weirdo.
like it's like so hard to ignore and for me to like unjustify like it ruins it for me almost like an experience. And I don't necessarily believe in separating the 2 because it's like, yes, I guess I can take what I get out of like these things each, but it's just so hard for me. I don't know. This is definitely more just like personal opinion more than anything. I don't know if there's no clear answer to any of this. And there's like, it's always going to be subjective how much the material means to you. And I think it's just how do you soothe and get over that and feel about like those people's actions. And then it's like, I guess your morals like weighing on how you feel about that. But it's just so hard for me to like justify completely separating the 2 and appreciating. Like, again, I'm like a huge Harry Potter fan, but I can't help now, like when I see those things, and yes, again, I'll take what I need out of it, but it's just hard for me to like justify my love for it the same way that I used to before I understood.
I feel like it can be both. You can be like, separation is possible, and I just can't enjoy it anymore personally because it's uniquely reminds me of something that I just can't get over.
Yeah.
I think it's acknowledging. I don't think it's separating. I think the acceptance is acknowledging that this person is attached to J.K. Rowling is attached to Harry Potter. You cannot separate. But I think once, I mean, I use Thriller as an example with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson. I mean, everybody knows of Michael Jackson and the things that he's done. But I would argue that Thriller and Beat It and Random, all these other stuff, they've kind of separated from him. Like they've become so much where when you think of Thriller, you think of Halloween. You think of like, yes, Michael Jackson is attached, but it has so many different like focuses where I think it transcends Michael Jackson as an art. But like he's still attached, so acknowledging that he made that. But I'm gonna take this because once you put out art, you put it out to the world. It's no longer the artist's thing. Is how I see it.
It becomes a thing of its own. Like
It becomes a thing of its own.
Yeah.
But you have to acknowledge that they made that, and that is part of.
I guess it's like,
how
how
it
do you
is.
rectify that like feeling? I guess it's like I agree. Like to say that I don't own like multiple Harry Potter wands is incorrect.
No, I own a few.
It's like, but I actually own a lot of things.
You get sad when you pick them up now, like
I'm
But
like,
no, it is tough. No,
but it's hard.
It's hard when every
like,
wand goes to that Twitter account.
yeah, exactly. And it just feels like, I'm like, I am supplementing their pay in some small, I mean, obviously that's like so far away and so separated, but I still feel like I'm supporting in a way. And I think it's like hard for me to like not rectify, like, acknowledge, or I feel like a hypocrite by continuing to support and buy things that, but I guess like maybe that's not the best example because it is so like, now it's like Warner Brothers, now it's like all these other things. It's just like they get in the middleman that make the money off of that, I guess. But it's like on a, maybe even like on a smaller scale, like smaller artists or things like that. You hear about things all the time. This is just the two people that came to mind, but
I also feel like people put too much emphasis on voting with your wallet. You know, just because I'm giving this person money doesn't mean that I'm ideologically supporting this person. I just gave that person $5. I've given a lot of $5 to people that I don't agree with.
I guess that's fair.
Or like companies that I don't agree with.
Yeah, like Quentin, I go to New Bev like all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
There you go.
all the time. Yeah. But I guess that goes back to the theater, not so much himself.
Well, I think we can agree on one thing that was a fantastic hot take.
Yeah,
We
better
can't
than-
agree on anything. So that's a really good hot take.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Intro?
Yeah.
We're doing intro.
We're doing the new intro today, right?
This is the new intro.
oh, I get to be a part of the new
New
intro.
intro?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
For the new intro, Sam?
What's the new intro?
Sam, did you not get the email?
Start it off.
You started, Sam.
You replied to it. You said confirmed.
You said that we are...
Show the receipts. What was that?
I know how busy Sam is.
Yeah,
in your
thank you.
defense,
Yeah,
I know.
thank you. Erwin
We
knows.
reply to emails all the time. without reading them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know this. I think maybe one of the first times I have someone like actively I work with like currently with us. This is Haven't Made It Yet, an
This
Indie
is
Not
Haven't Made It.
podcast.
Yeah.
We are a podcast. Just to reiterate that. And my name's Yannick.
My name is Hayden.
My name's Sam.
My name is Erwin.
I almost said Sam. I don't know why. I
You could
quickly
be.
curveballed into my real
We're still
name.
getting to know each other.
Clearly. But Erwin's now our 41st
31st episode.
episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
40 episodes, you guys don't know each other?
We all met on Craigslist. Yeah.
Usually we record separately and then Hayden puts it all together.
Really good editing.
First time in person, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
4 years after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, in person.
Yeah,
All
right?
right. Yeah. But Erwin and I met through work.
Yeah.
So I work at Lionsgate. Erwin works at ABC.
I work at ABC Entertainment on the network side, so we cover the same shows.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can talk about what show we covered together. I mean, The Rookie.
The Rookie.
Everyone should watch The Rookie. But yeah, that's how we met. It's just connecting at work and working on The Rookie together. And
It's a fun show to work on.
yeah, definitely. Definitely a powerhouse Alexi Hawley production.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool. But we brought Erwin on just to talk about, I feel like we haven't really discussed much about like what it's like to work at like a network or even like at the studio level since I've joined Lionsgate. And I felt like that would be interesting. But also on the side, Erwin's an aspiring director. He is a director.
I am.
He has directed.
I have directed. Yeah. I'm in the midst of producing another short, which hopefully we're going to shoot in June.
Okay.
We'll see.
Oh, very exciting.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been.
But I guess just to start, let's get a little bit about your where you started. What got you into this industry in the first place?
It's interesting because I'm the only one in my family who decided to pursue this. I was born in Guatemala, but I grew up in Chicago. And I guess while I was learning the language, I started watching a lot of TV. And obviously, I had no choice but to watch it in English. So I guess subconsciously picked it up. So not only did I fall in love with the medium, but I also felt like I got a new language out of it. And I've always been very into movies. I've always been very into TVs. Like I was that guy that would go to movies every Friday, like before the pandemic when AMC released the A-list thing. I went to the movies 12 times 1 month. That was literally three days a week. And I've always wanted to be a part of it. I didn't know in what way when I was younger until probably around high school. I remember I was in a band in high school, like a lot of us. And then I was like, okay, I really like this, but also like I'd love to shoot our music videos and see how that is. And then that led me into college and specifically for directing. I remember there was hesitation from my family because obviously if you go into arts, there's no work anywhere. But I think as soon as they started seeing the passion that I had for it, all that went out the window, and now they're very, very supportive. And I come from a family that we didn't have that much money. So if I wanted to go to college, I had to like do it myself. So I remember working 5 days a week and being a full-time student 2 days a week. So literally 7 days a week, just doing something. And then trying to save as much as possible and decided to move to LA. I think I told myself that I was going to move here from a very young age. And I always told people, and I don't know if I did it as a reminder to myself, like, okay, I'm going to move to LA, but I would tell everybody, like, yeah, I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to move to LA. I really like this directing thing. I really want to do it. I want to be a part of it. And whenever there was something, there's more things shooting in Chicago now than there were back then. So whenever there was something that was being shot there, like I remember when I graduated elementary school, not even high school, they were shooting Public Enemies. And we were on our way to, my family was in town from Guatemala because they went to the graduation and everything. And we were on our way to a restaurant or to like the Sears Tower or something. I don't remember. And then they were shooting Public Enemies. And I just stayed there. We ended up not going to wherever we were going because I just stayed there watching. And it just happened to be Johnny Depp's birthday that day too. So it was really, it was really interesting. Then like a few years later, they shot the third Transformers. And I was there for like 7 a.m. to like 7 p.m. just watching them from like two streets away. And that was a very, really good experience. And then finally, I was able to get a job as a PA. I was an extra on Divergent, and I was an extra on Shameless. So, and then being on set, I just loved it. I hated being an extra, not because it's boring, but because I just couldn't be on set for as long as possible. Like we spent a lot of time in the green room and just in the whole room, and I just wanted to go on set and like, just be a part of it or just be a fly on the wall. So all of that solidified that I actually really do want to do this. So when I moved to LA, we didn't know anyone. It was just my wife and I. She was my girlfriend at the time. We have no family, no friends. It's like we had no one here. So it was just like, okay, how am I gonna set my foot in the industry? Like I don't know where to start. But I got lucky. I landed at a talent management company as an intern, and then the assistant there was leaving, and then they just couldn't find anyone else. So I took over little by little. Then I was there for like 2 years. Then I went to another management company, but on the lit side, and that kind of opened up my world a lot more in the industry because not that there isn't anything to learn on talent. It's at the very end of it all. So you can only learn so much. So when I went into lit, I think I learned more my first 2 months there than I did 2 years in talent. So I learned about current, I learned about development. I learned about what the difference between a studio and a network is. I learned about pods. So that got me interested in going into development or into current because I like the idea of, if I was in development, of just hearing all these ideas and developing it, or in current, and just being able to stay with that show for as long as it goes, and just putting a little bit of yourself on every show. It took a while, but finally I ended up at ABC where I'm at now. I've been there for 3 years. And I think subconsciously I've just been absorbing a lot of information and just learning so much that even though I stopped directing after I graduated, it had been 6 years before I picked it up again. By the time I shot my last short 2 years ago, I think I had just learned so much that I was able to take all that onto set. And the weird thing, I've always been sort of like an introvert. I've never been like a really confident person or anything, but when I'm directing, that all goes out the window. Like I remember the first day I was walking up to my actors and just be like, "Hey, can you try to do this? Can you
The
try
show
to do
must
that?"
go on.
Yeah. And by the third day I was like talking across the room, you know, and then for a second I was like, what am I doing? I usually don't like doing this, but I had the time of my life. I was so stressed, but I tell people that was the most fun I've had being stressed. I wasn't getting any money out of it. If anything, I was spending money, but I was like, this is a job, you know, this is legit, this is real. And for that short, I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but for that short, it took a while to get off the ground because we were obviously ready to go and just needed money. But we were able to raise the money, and just that whole process was very interesting and very rewarding for me because it was like again, I had directed in college, but it was the first thing that I've done that was truly mine. Like the whole vision was mine.
Can you give us, just before going more into the details, just a little bit of context about what the short film is and what your goal was with it and how you ended up deciding to make this project?
Yeah, so I was at ABC and I love where we're at and I love being a part of all those shows, but that itch or that want to direct was always there. And I had always heard like, well, if you want to be a director, you have to direct. And at the time I used to like, not get me mad, but it would be like, oh, you don't think I'd be doing it? Like if I could?
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I have to. Like I have to show something for myself because yes, I can keep meeting different people, but if I have nothing to show, then no one's really gonna give me that one yes. So I met with several people, specifically writers, because everything that I had directed in the past was written by me, but I wanted to try something else to see if I can get a better story if I worked with another writer. And then I had met this writer at the lit management company where I was at. His name's Anthony Eplin. Like we sat down and I'm like, hey, dude, I really want to direct something. I ambitiously asked him for a feature, but he was like, let's do a short first, see where that goes. And in hindsight, I kind of get it because he was kind of giving me his work and trusting me with it. So the script he had already written the script. I think he had it for a few years now. Someone else was supposed to direct and it just didn't happen. So he sent it to me. We made some changes. I put a little bit of my own spin into it. He made the rewrites. And then what took the longest was actually just getting the money because I was very hesitant about doing the Kickstarter just because I didn't think it was going to work. But finally, when we weren't getting, we had everything. We had a crew, we had a budget broken down already. We had obviously the script, we had the locations. We just needed the money to pay for it. So I was like, okay, it's not happening. Like, because no one really wants to invest in shorts because there's no return. Yeah. And to answer your question, also, I wanted to do it to kind of start building my portfolio. Like my student films, they're student films. You know, like I can only get so much with them.
You said you were reluctant on doing Kickstarter. What was the reluctancy on that?
Honestly, I was just in my head. I didn't think it was going to work because I didn't think people would actually give me money and to do it. But look, I was very surprised. I think we raised 80% of it, and Kickstarter is one of those places that you have to reach your goal, or else you don't get the money. So I was like, oh damn, I don't want to lose this. So I put in $3,000, which is literally half my savings, almost more than that, because I didn't want to lose it, and I took it out. And then I was like, okay, I'll just deal with that later. Like, it doesn't matter. And so we did like this little video for the Kickstarter. Like I broke down what the film was going to be. We had bios for all the people involved. And a lot of people came through. A lot of people, like a lot of close friends and family. I got lucky that a lot of the clients that I had worked with on the lit side, even though I was already at ABC at that point, they showed up. And even like $50, awesome. Like whatever it was, I was just very thankful. And then this guy from, I think he lives in Portland. He randomly gave me $2,500. Like,
Wow.
I don't know. Till this day, I'm still in touch with him because I was just so grateful, and I sent him like a really long email like thanking him because like, he didn't have to do this. And then after we shot the short, I got on a Zoom with him, and I'm like, I'm so thankful, but I need to know why. Like why? And he's like, he's also a filmmaker, and he's like, I much rather give young up and coming filmmakers money than donate it to like a random nonprofit where I don't know where my money's going. At least here I know that you were doing something.
How did he find you? Just on a Kickstarter?
He was just on Kickstarter.
Wow.
He just saw it. He just saw it on the page. Yeah.
What was your synopsis on there? Like, can you just kind of explain to us what the film was?
Yeah, it's about an Olympic swimmer who's getting ready for a big race, Sorry, it's about an Olympic swimmer who's getting ready for a big race, and then his girlfriend shows up, and then he's trying to like focus on the race, but she's trying to get some attention from him, and like little by little they start getting closer. But as the story goes on, he keeps hearing voices and seeing unwelcome guests that aren't supposed to be there. So it's kind of like, okay, what's going on here? As the story goes on, we learn that this is actually just a memory, and he's now an older man thinking back into those days. Yeah.
How'd you find the script?
Through Anthony, the writer that I met with. He had written it already, and
he came to you and was like, "Hey, I want this directed."
No, I went to him. Yeah.
So how'd you? I mean, did he give you the script? Hey, I just made this thing. And
no, he said he had it. He had that script because I think someone else was supposed to direct a long time ago, and it just never happened. And he's like, if you want it, it's all yours. It's dated now. We can make some changes to it. I think, if I remember correctly, the ending was almost completely different. So I made some of those changes. Oh, and I really liked it because, again, I've always been a character guy, and I liked the fact that it had a little dialogue, and that dialogue that was there was cheesy, but cheesy in a good way, because it was about a couple. So I'm like, if I can tell a story with little dialogue, then I'm good. Then I can tell a story in any way, right? So I kind of wanted to challenge myself there. And also in hindsight, it takes place in a pool, but I guess my ideas were a little bit too ambitious, and I'm so glad that it worked out. So we have a lot of underwater footage.
I was going to ask about that, about the filming of the underwater stuff.
Yeah, it was. Look, when I read it, like, and I blocked it and I shot listed it, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be underwater, like,
yeah,
it just has to be, yeah, right. Like, it's funny because Anthony told me like he never really thought of it that way. Like he's swimming, but he never really thought of it like actually going in the water with him. But I needed to find a way to make this interesting because there's barely any dialogue, so we have to make it visually interesting and also character interesting. So I met the producer, Julia, introduced me to a DP, and then I just told him like, hey, some of this has to be underwater. He never questioned it. He had done some commercials and worked on like more professional sets here and there. So I guess he was just used to something big like that. And we managed to find an underwater camera operator. And then he got COVID, and he sent the day before. So he sent his friend.
Oh, he's wearing a mask under there, right?
Yeah. But it was still. This was like it was 2022, so I guess everyone was vaccinated. But also, I didn't want to like bring it onto set, you know. And I think my lead actress had just given birth. I think she had like a 5-month-old at home. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna expose her to COVID.
True. Yeah.
So another guy came in, like. So it was interesting because I had already planned out the whole sequence, and I didn't talk to the underwater camera operator directly, but I think Nate was the DP. Nate had already talked to him about it. So when this new guy showed up, we were already running behind, but I'm like, no, we need to do this underwater sequence, and it's going to be like this. And I walked him through it. He had a hard time understanding it because, of course, I wanted to make that particular sequence to be a water. And then like the location we got lucky that there were two pools. One was really deep and the other one was shallow. So I was like, okay, fine, let's do something like this. It's gonna be really hard for the actors to be trying to stay afloat for as long as it's gonna take us to shoot this. So how about we use the shallow pool for them to stand on it, so when the camera is above the water, they're standing, and then we'll hide the cuts whenever we go underwater. Yeah. So explaining that to him was difficult because obviously saying I'm gonna hide the cuts when we go up and down, that's easy. But when should you go down? When should you come up? How long are you going to stay down? And then I walked him through the whole sequence. So the sequence starts with the main character jumping into the water. His girlfriend's already in the water. So he jumps into the water. We go under with him, comes up. They're both together. Then he goes down again. And then he sees one of those unwelcome guests like swimming by. So stitching all that together and explaining that to him, like, I wasn't frustrated or anything, but I was like, and obviously it's not his fault because I see it in my head and I know how it is. He has no idea what I want. But we ended up getting it. It worked out. And then when we were editing it, I was like, we have so much good footage that I don't want it to go to waste. So I broke the water. I'm like, yeah, the water's cool. Like, but like, I want to be able to tell a nice story visually. So we have a moment. So we have some of those moments that we use the camera coming up and down in the water as the cuts, but also like I start cutting around it so we can be underwater a little bit longer. And it was a very interesting experience because I had never done anything like that. And I think I was just so invested in the idea that I never thought of, I'm not able to do this. Like, I just went ahead. Maybe I was just high on it or whatever, but I was like, no, I need to, like, this is what I want and this is what we're going to do. And it worked out. Like, I usually have a lot of self-doubt, but when it came for that, I just didn't question it. And I don't know, at one point I even jumped in the pool with the camera guy. So I was like, no, and I was like tapping him on the shoulder, like, okay, now go down, come up. So it was a very fun experience.
I thought thematically it worked really well because you're jumping from like past to present, and I mean you're not using it directly like that, but going from overwater to underwater is kind of like this like diving back and forth. And I just kind of worked for that, I think, quite well. I think if it would have been all under above the pool, having that back and forth in the story, it just kind of worked to help support that, I thought.
And it added for
the
not having it be a oneer added to this disorientation of it.
That's kind of what I mean.
think was, you almost got like almost a foreshadowing of this is a memory from the cuts.
Wow, I'm so glad you guys caught that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching, by the way. I'm so thankful that you guys watched it.
Sure.
Yeah.
It
means a lot to me.
We do our research.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Professional podcast. No, but thank you. That really means a lot to me because I also wanted that moment of whenever he was underwater to be kind of his safe space, and like it's lonely. He's alone, but he's not lonely. You know what I mean? Like he feels safe there, and that was. I like to think that that he probably, as an old man after she passed, he never went back into swimming. So as an old man, like thinking that memory was him trying to get himself back into it. So I generally don't know if the ending of him walking away with her is what actually happened. I like to think that maybe it didn't, but walking out with her is kind of as a way of him finally getting over that or just moving on from it, and missing those moments that he had in the water, and maybe he just associated those moments with her, and maybe that's why he was afraid to go back in there. So
I mean, also even like underwater, there's like a level of peace. It's like stillness almost, and it kind of like, I'm sure for like when you're jumping memories so often, it's like where do you find that peace because you're just battling yourself the whole time. Yeah. So using the water to use it as just like a stillness almost is also really nice.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It seemed like some of the shots were ADR, which I thought was just the stylistic choice that you probably made to make it feel like uncandiness. Was that actually your intention going in, or was that just like a happy accident?
It was probably a happy accident. I didn't go in thinking that way, but when we were editing the film and we were doing sound, it sounded too clean. And I mean, props to the audio guy. He did a really good job picking up sound. But I'm like, no, I think, what if we, I don't know if confusion is the right word, but what if we like put in some confusion and like at this point, their voices are sounding like the voices he's hearing.
Well, it's like the voices, like the quality of the sound is like as if it's in the space that he is remembering it from, which is quite a bit smaller and dampening the sound, as in it would be more echoey in the actual swimming area, so it kind of ties it to a different space in a way, which I thought was really cool.
And definitely props to the sound guy. I would imagine, that environment, if anyone's been to a public pool inside, you know how like it echoes 5 times, and I was just like, how are they getting this? Like,
no, he did a really good job. And then while we were on set, there were these fans that we just couldn't turn off. And like, just so you know, we're picking this up. And I'm like, is there anything we can do now? Like, unless we can turn them off, no, he said. So I was like, okay, let's work around it. Let's make it work. Let's see what we can do and just do it. So when we started going through the footage, I thought it was going to be really loud, but I mean, I think I hear it because I know it was there, But also, I think he did such a good job at fading those out that it wasn't that it didn't turn into an issue or anything. But also, we ended up ADRing the dialogue a little bit, so that kind of worked out too.
So tell us a little bit about like the journey after you made this short film, and did you put it into festivals? What was kind of like the steps after it?
Yeah, I submitted it to a few festivals. I've gotten into 5. I was nominated for Best Drama at one of them.
Oh, good job.
Thank you. It premiered here in Pasadena a year ago, so it's crazy. It's a great feedback because obviously when you watch your stuff over and over again, you kind of like start thinking like, oh, this isn't that good. So I guess because you just, I don't know.
Or you say a word over and over again and the word loses its meaning.
100%. So, but everyone came, it got really, everyone like in my friends group came, one of my bosses ended up coming to the premiere, which I'm very thankful for. And it was just a really nice feeling to share that with everyone. But also, I got into another festival in Arizona, and I actually got to go to that one, and I didn't know anyone in the audience. And that was a completely different experience because obviously here, when it premiered here in LA, everybody's just supportive, everybody's happy, so everybody's cheering for you. And it was, I feel like it was genuine, but also you're always going to get that experience because you made something, right? Which is a nice feeling. But seeing it with an audience that had no one that I knew was really interesting. So hearing them gasp and like react to it, that was a different feeling on its own because those people don't know me. They probably didn't even know that I was sitting there and watching it with them. So that felt really good. Yeah. So I got into 5. I'm waiting on one more. But I think it did its job in a sense of like I wanted to start showing this to people and kind of like prove to them that I can do this. I'm very lucky that the people that I work with right now are supportive and they're actually champions of mine. But also I wanted to show something like, hey, this isn't just me talking. I feel like I can do this. And they've helped me get to shadowing opportunities. I did a week on the Connors, which I love multicam, but my respect for it went way up because it's such a completely different brain muscle that you have to use for that. And then I just did The Rookie in February. Again, thanks to my boss, Joe DeSante, because I showed her the short. She's been very supportive. As soon as the strike ended, she called the PD. And she was like, hey, my assistant wants to be a director. He wants to shadow. I had a meeting with him. He said yes. And then a few months later, he called me. And, as assistants in Hollywood, it's not easy for us to take a day off. And they called me from one day to another. He was like, Erwin, I have an opportunity for you. It starts tomorrow. And I was like, oh, damn, what am I going to do? So I called Joe again, and I'm like, hey, Bill called me. They can take me in starting tomorrow for this episode. It's probably going to be for 20 days. And
wow, 20 days. You shot it for 20 days.
Yeah, because I was able to be
awesome.
I really wanted to be a part of the prep process because we see it from the network side and we know what it is, but being a part of it is completely different.
So I guess I like just really quickly before we like nosedive into this, let's just like backtrack just for 2 seconds, I guess, for those that are listening in terms of like shadowing. What is that? You're now approached with this opportunity to shadow. Like, I guess there's a bunch of also like, we talk to aspiring like directors all the time, and we've had a few of those guests already. I feel like what we haven't talked about, I guess, is the shadowing process. I guess, how do you mentally prepare for even like stepping onto set? I know you're like thinking like, I want to be there for prep, but what does that mean in terms of like someone that might not know how to like nosedive into that kind of opportunity, but wants to be on set like that?
How does one go into getting that opportunity?
Yeah, that, and also I guess like how do you, as like someone that is shadowing, what do you want? I guess like what is the expectation that you want out of it? Like what do you kind of go into that opportunities? Like, because I feel like you could easily just be like almost a bystander. All you're doing is literally just watching. But how do you be proactive and make the most of your experience while you're doing this?
What I had talked to a few directors and I asked them that same question, and all of them told me the same thing. You have to approach that opportunity as if you were the one directing. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I got the script, I broke it down, I started shot listing the script. Obviously, we didn't know the locations yet, so I couldn't block the whole thing. So when I got the opportunity, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do it as if I was the one directing this episode. I'm gonna break it as if they're gonna tell me, Erwin, what do you want to do in this scene? And I think that was I thought everybody approached that experience that way, but I've learned now that a lot of people just kind of like show up and see what they can learn. which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, but also like you gotta remember, like you're not there to just you're not there for yourself. You're also there to make an impression on the crew, because if you do get an opportunity later, those are gonna be the people you're gonna be working with anyway. So this isn't to like pat myself on the back or anything, but like the director that I shot it was really nice, and he was like, you were prepared, and I really liked that. So again, I shot listed the whole episode. I blocked the whole episode after we got the locations, and I even have overheads for the whole episode. And one of the days on set, like randomly, it was like the third day of production, the director came up to me and he was like, okay, how would you direct the scene? Like now. So had I not shot listed anything, had I not blocked the scene, I wouldn't have gotten in trouble for not knowing, but I was able to step up and I walked them through the scene, and I walked them through the whole scene. And then at the end, he was like, okay, cool. Then after, I was like, you kind of caught me off guard there. And then he was like, oh, I did that on purpose to see if you were able to think on your feet, and you did a good job. Mm-hmm. So that meant a lot to me. So always, I guess to go back to your question, is always approach it as if you were the one directing. Like that's what they tell you. Of course, like let's say like the director's not able to come in for one day. They're in reality, they're not gonna ask you to step up and do it. They'll probably go to the PD or whoever the showrunner, if the showrunner likes to direct, or just anyone else, right? But the idea is prep as if you were the one directing the episode, because if something happens to the director, you will be stepping up. That's what they tell you to. That's how they tell you to approach it. And my biggest accomplishment was that I pitched him a few shots, and he took two of them and put them on the final episode, on the final cut of the episode. The episode actually airs on Tuesday, so I'm really excited.
All right.
So I've seen the cut, obviously, because we get to see it.
Of course,
I'm lucky that I work at ABC, so I've seen it. But it's such a good feeling. I don't know, like I have a bunch of pictures that I just want to post already, but they're like, no, just wait until the episode airs and then you can post it. So it was a very, very good experience. They set you up for success. Obviously, every show is different, but at least on The Rookie, like they make you look good. The only way you will fail is if you don't prepare. And Lanre, the director, was like, you'd be surprised how many directors don't prepare. Like they just come in and like, just try to get it done. But no, like I have to prepare. Like I want to be able to answer any question that comes my way. And obviously, things are going to change on set. And I think having done this short helped me too, because I knew that things could go bad. So approaching those problems and knowing how to approach those problems was a very good lesson for me, I guess. Mm-hmm. But no, it was, I love the experience, and I feel like I thought I was gonna come out of it feeling overwhelmed, but I came out of it feeling a little bit more confident, and I'm like, I can do this. Like this is the same thing that I've done. I've just done it on the independent level, you know. And it was kind of nice. Like we were like waiting for there were like setup changes, and I was like, oh, should we go and do this? Should we go and do that? He's like, no. People take care of that. You're here to direct. You're here to do your thing and direct, and that's it. So I was like, oh wow, that's the dream, you know, to just be on set, to be able to direct and then do your thing.
So you worked on now short that we just talked about, and then this is obviously television. Mm-hmm. I feel like TV directing and then like features, and even I guess like the way you approach shorts is like completely different. Do you find that as well? And also, I guess, do you have a preference? Is the goal ultimately to be a TV director or film? Like, how would you, I guess, navigate that?
I think the goal would be to be a feature director eventually, but I do want to direct TV. I guess the big difference between features and TV is that you're a guest on TV. Like, it's not your show. You're allowed to put a little of your input into it, but at the end of the day, you're there to fulfill the vision of the showrunner or the writers, right? Which is it's not a bad thing at all. So I feel like that is a really good learning experience, because you get to go through the whole process. And even though it's not 100% your vision, you're fulfilling someone else's vision, you're still learning. You're still on set. You're still directing. You still have communication with the actors. And that is all you need. All that if you eventually want to go into features. Could you do features without doing all that? Yeah, totally. Like, I'm not saying that you can, but you just learn so much and you pick up so much from that experience that it's only going to help you get better. And there's been a lot of directors who started in TV and they're doing features now. J.J. Abrams was one of them. Like, The Lost pilot is still one of the best pilots out there. So I think I'm pretty sure he directed that one. And obviously he's doing Star Wars now. So there's Ryan Johnson too. Ryan Johnson directed my favorite episode of Breaking Bad, Ozymandias, and then I love all his movies. So there is a path there. And had you asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have told you, I want to do TV. Sorry, I want to do features. I want to do features. That's my thing. But now having worked on it and knowing what it is, like I definitely want to direct TV. And TV is so good now. Like if I'm also a gamer. So if I were to direct like an episode of The Last of Us or God of War or something like that, like that's something that like that's awesome, you know?
Yeah.
That's great. I guess also like what you're saying, and we've talked about this, like the two, like between us two, and then also just as a group, there's so many different, like, I guess pathways. And like, I feel like exactly what you're saying, like to be like, you wanted to be like a features director and you're like, no, I would never touch TV, but there's so many different paths to get to the point of like what you eventually want to do. And I kind of want to pivot a little bit because I feel like when I've met like other directors, a lot of them tend to be the AD or even like just PAing first, AD track, or a like camera team or whatever, but you chose to go to the networks.
Yeah.
So I like would love to talk a little bit more about like what it's like, one, working at a buyer, specifically a network, because even I work on the studio end, it's a little bit different than even at a network like ABC. But even just as someone that would want a job on set, I'm curious, first of all, what drove you to go almost corporate?
Look, I guess the easy answer would be that was just the path that I ended up making for myself, and that was the easiest way to break into the business. But the longer answer could also be like, I wanted to learn everything about the industry. And again, when I was on the lit management company, I got so curious and so interested in current and development because I liked that idea of staying on with the shows for a little while. So I was like, okay, fine. If the directing thing doesn't work, like I'd be okay being an executive because it's still interesting. You still get to interact with a lot of the creatives. So I was like, let me see how that is. And then that sounds easier said than done. It wasn't like I just said, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then I got the job at Disney. Like it took a long time to actually get that job. But I was also like applying to a lot of different places on the current and development side. And I'm glad I did because I'm in current, but having seen both of them, I do like current more than development because you get to stay on shows for a lot longer.
I guess, would you want to explain a little bit also to people that don't know? Because I think some, like when I worked at E1, that kind of job was kind of one and the same. A much smaller studio, but you're describing development and current as two different things. I guess for those that don't know, can you describe what those differences are?
Yeah, in development, you're developing an idea. You're developing a pilot specifically, right? On the network,
kind of pitching in a sense. Too.
People pitch ideas to us. They bring, some of them already have scripts written, some of them just have outlines written, or just the pitch deck. And then the network buys that idea and then develops it into a pilot. Once you shoot that pilot and the network decides to pick it up, it becomes an actual show, and then that's when current steps in. Technically, depending on where you work, is different everywhere. Like you're like, okay, develop this pilot. It's a show now. Bye, onto something else. And then we in current pick it up and we stay on that show. We stay on that show for as long as it goes. Development just hands it on to us, and then they start working on different ideas. Now it's changed a lot because of the pandemic, because of the strike. So it's not as it's like there used to be a process for the whole thing. Like we don't even have pilot season anymore. Like we don't even have that many pilots anymore. But development is now always developing. Like they're always listening to different stuff, always listening to different ideas. In current, I like the idea that I got to stay on the show for as long as I went. Could that change? Yeah, it could. Like I worked on the first season of Abbott Elementary and I really loved it, but then they separated drama and comedy. So like I stayed in drama and I lost that show. But it's fine, like you still get to stay on all the other ones. And I know things have changed now and we got lucky, but because I started working remotely when I got the job at ABC, it was just easier to hop on all the notes session and listening to that process. And in current, you're involved in everything. Like you get an outline for the episode, then you get a script for the episode, and then you get a cut for the episode, and you note every single one of those. and just hearing what the network wants, hearing how those notes are delivered, seeing the producers taking those notes, kind of like, I don't know, it taught me more about that world. And if anything, like it only made me a better filmmaker in general.
Yeah. Did you get to meet the writers of Abbott?
Yeah. Look, we were on Zoom, and as assistants, we have to have our cameras off and all that. But it was kind of nice to be on the same Zoom with them. Everyone on that show is super nice, super nice.
Joya's in my writers group. I don't know if you met Joya.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She started at the lower level, I think, right?
Yeah, this is her first writing job.
Yeah.
And I've been in a writers group with her for a really long time, and then she got into this, and
that's so cool.
Which is awesome. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
I mean, she's on an amazing
Yeah.
show. Yeah. So everyone, like it's like, I know you see all these promos for every show, and they always say like everyone on the show is really nice, and but like obviously not all of them, not every show is really like that. But Abbott is one of those shows. Like everyone's so nice, everyone's so welcoming, and everyone just wants everyone else to be as good as possible and get to where they want to get to. And I think I've been lucky because a lot of the shows that I worked on have been like that. Wiltern's another one. The Rookie, definitely, like they're known for giving opportunities to people that are still up and coming.
That's cool.
I mean, the fact that I got to go on set and shadow, like Bill Rowe, the PD, said yes to letting me shadow without even watching my short. I think he eventually watched it after, but he never questioned the idea, like, oh, you're never directed TV, like why would I let you shadow? Like you don't, like he just gave me that opportunity.
So he came to you, right? Because he said he had an opportunity. Did you ask him before that, or since it was not through the short, how did he?
No, my boss reached out to him after having
knowing
watched
that
the
you were
short.
interested in directing?
Yeah, and
Okay,
then
nice.
a few months later he came back to me.
That's
so
very nice.
Yeah, so we had a meeting like a week after the WGA strike finished. Because they went back into work. So I had a meeting with him, and he's like, "Hey, things are crazy right now, but I'll get back to you eventually." And then I didn't hear back until February. So for like I was anticipating a call for a little while, but also like a part of me was like, what if it doesn't happen? Also, I wouldn't have fault them at all because they had a really busy season. But he did. He came back. He came back to me, and then obviously his assistant was the one that called me. But when I was on set, I talked to him. I thanked him for the opportunity. And everyone on that show too. Everyone on that show is just very, very nice and very welcoming. The cast is amazing. Nathan Fillion's amazing. And I have a picture with the whole cast, and I'm like, how is this my life? Like, what am I doing here? You know, like.
Yeah.
But it was a very fun experience. I'm happy that I got to do it. The goal is to get back on it this season, and just keep applying to all these programs so I can eventually get into one of these programs and get an episode of television.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, hopefully one day.
It's current, and what's the other one?
Development.
Development is probably constantly like, okay, we got this in, next one.
Mm-hmm.
And would current be you're constantly like showing, like pitching the case for the show of like this needs to stay on? Are you constantly talking to producers and the company that, hey, the show is worth it, and just saying that it needs to keep going or to the next season?
Well, you gotta remember that we're not the creators of the show at all. Yeah. So there's always there's that line that we respectfully don't cross, obviously, because at the end of the day we know that they're the creators and we're just the executives, right?
Totally.
So throughout the season, it's different because I work in network, and network TV is so fast.
Yeah.
So we might be getting a script for one episode, but also getting a story area for 2 episodes later, and then getting a cut for the first few episodes, right? And then we're shooting this season as it's airing. Mm-hmm. So I shadowed an episode 608 of The Rookie, and we were shooting that in February, and we were just airing like episode 1 or 2, I think, and we hadn't even finished the whole season, right? So our jobs in the network is just to keep that momentum going. We know that what people say is like a good executive will watch a show through the lens of the audience, right? To make them understand, to see if like things are tracking, to make sure that it's still as good as it could be. And obviously every now and then there's like notes that they have, like heavy notes that they have to give because of different reasons. But at the end of the day, it's just to make sure that the show stays consistent. Anything with story or anything like that, that's all on the producers and the writers and the directors and all that. We're there to view it as the audience, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of like, because you work at the buyer level, right? Like it's up to ABC to decide to greenlit another season.
Yeah.
How does like, because obviously now I'm on the studio side, so it's like a little bit different where obviously our executives don't have that kind of intel on that. I guess like if your boss being the current programming covering this particular show, how much influence does like Joe have and like Heather have, I guess, like on that decision or like push within the own company to be like, we are the buyers, it's up to us to decide. How like influential is this whole process for them?
That's so. I'll tell you what I know because that's also like above my pay grade.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
I'm not really in like we sometimes as the executives and the cover executives of the show genuinely don't know if the show is going to come back.
Yeah.
Could they advocate for it and be like, hey, this is why I think this show should come back. This is what we're doing well. I know this is what we can improve on. And we have those meetings. So yes, they have some sort of a push, but I wouldn't say the decision is up to them. At the end of the day, the decision is at the higher level. And there have been instances where, I don't want to say that an executive saved the show or anything, but that they had a really compelling argument that were like, okay, maybe that influenced the decision making. I wouldn't say that is completely up to them. Like, of course, like it's still, there's a lot of conversations that we're not in. Like, does it make sense financially? Like, as a show goes on for a long time, it just gets more expensive. So, are the returns worth another season? Things that are also really different now. Rookie is one of the few shows left that is from an outside studio, because now a lot of networks own their own studio. Like Disney owns 20th and ABC Signature, obviously. So a lot of our shows are either 20th or Signature. So having shows from an external network is also part of the decision. Sorry, an external studio. It's also part of the decision because, again, I don't know the finances, but there's something there. I think it's actually more expensive for us, or it could be more expensive for Lionsgate, or I don't know the exact details when it comes to that, just because that's all like legal and BA and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you all have to be almost like the intermediate, not, what do you call that? Not, but like almost like a therapist, like a couples counseling thing between the writer and the show creator, the director?
That's a good question. No, really, we're not.
You just have to make sure they don't kill each other.
Yeah. I mean, look, if anything escalates to that level, like obviously, like, and I think at that point, maybe the studio will get involved.
Yeah.
Like on the network side, like, unless things get really, really bad, which hasn't happened in my time there, and I don't even know if it's happened. We don't really get involved when it comes to any of that. Because anything that has to do with creative, like, it's the show. Like, they do their thing, and then they handle it how they feel like it's best to handle it. So luckily, like, knock on wood, it's never, at least I haven't experienced it yet. But I wouldn't say that we're the therapist of the relationship or anything like that.
Okay.
Like, we're strictly there to focus on the material that's coming our way.
My questions come very outsider because
good.
I've already said this many times, but like I'm still always trying to understand what the studio marketing and the other side of film that I just never really ever see. I always see the making of it, but I don't see the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. There was a lot that I hadn't seen from where I'm sitting still. That's why I really wanted to be a part of the prep process. I was like, that's one example of like, I know on paper, I know what prep is, right? But being a part of it is completely different because again, I don't want to say we stay away from it. It's just that's not our job from the network side. That's all on the show. Our job, like my job specifically, is to keep track of what's coming in, keeping track of the production dates, keeping track of when they're starting, when they're wrapping, what episode they're on, what material we received, what material we've noted. Usually, we're really good at noting material as it comes in, obviously because we have to and because of the speed of it all. But all anything that has to do with creative again stays with the show.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's very interesting to like see all that. I'm someone that really loves the politics of it all. So it's always interesting to have those conversations and to see things like that happen.
I mean, it's interesting. It's just like very much feels like you're in a machine.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's like you either hop in or you step right off to the side because it's going to keep going without you. But yeah, no, it's, I mean, definitely coming from being on set to now seeing this like peeled behind, because my boss does a little bit of development and current a little bit differently. So I see a little bit of both, but just even seeing the current side, just being like, oh my goodness, this is just like again, we keep referencing The Rookie because it's the show that we both work on, but it's just like, it is such a big process already that it's just kind of like, gotta get in it, or it's, you know, it's already in season 7. So
yeah, it's very interesting, and then the differences between a studio and a network, and I think I always knew there was some sort of difference, but I didn't know what the differences were, and it's just like learning all that has been very rewarding.
What would you find are like the differences?
I think studios are like, you guys are more involved to it. Like, I think at the end of the day, the network we're as executives, we're protective of our brand and what's going to be on our network. So it's just making sure that the show stays aligned with what ABC really is, you know, because obviously every network is different. Like a CBS show is completely different than an ABC show, you know, or even an NBC show, right? So just as long as it stays consistent with that, like I think the studio tends to be a little bit more involved than everything else, and do we have a say in the decision making? Like, yeah, of course. And then ultimately we're also the ones that cancel or renew the show too. So it's just like, that's one of the differences as well. Like the studio could really advocate for a show, but if the network doesn't want it, like, sorry. And that's why you see a show being canceled on one network and then being picked up by another one, because the studio took it to another network and they picked it up. That's why you see it could even happen on the streaming level. Like it gets canceled on a broadcast network and it goes onto Netflix or something like that. That's a power that the studio has. So like, okay, you guys don't want it, let me take it somewhere else.
As someone that has like an inside perspective into where we're heading as an industry, where do you think we're going in terms of the type of stuff we're going to see and the format, you know?
I think I don't know if it's because I work on broadcast, but I still believe it. For some reason, for a while, broadcast was seen as like not as good as streaming or cable, and I think that is an idea that we all put in our minds ourselves. I don't think that's necessarily true, and unfortunately, it is true. Like live viewing is not what it used to be, right? The ratings are not as high as they used to be because people are just streaming stuff, and where are we gonna go in the future? I don't know. I always like to think on the optimistic side and think that there's like broadcast TV will still exist, especially now that we air our shows on the network and then it goes on to Hulu the next day. So you have those two options. So I feel like as long as we're still making good content, as long as TV is still good, we're still gonna be a part of the whole process. But yes, obviously streaming has always like it's the convenience of it all. I think people like convenience. That era of like my show's starting in the next 30 minutes, I have to go home, see you guys later, is unfortunately ending because like you can just watch it tomorrow, you know, you can just watch it after it's on Hulu. So I don't know exactly where it's gonna go, but I'm optimistic that we're still gonna be here for a long time.
Do you think that's a bad thing that like, oh, my show is gonna be on, I gotta head home? Is there a good thing? Is that a good thing? Or
I mean, look, convenience is always good, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I like I like binging stuff. Like it's a completely different example, but I like binging stuff. But then also when you watch a show that comes out weekly and you can stay with that episode for the whole week, also it's a different
excitement you can kind of look forward to.
Yeah, so I like
feed on for a whole week.
100%, and that's something that I like to compare to like watching something live. Like if you and a group of friends are all sitting down watching the show live, whether you're at home or on the same house together, like you're experiencing that together, and I think that's very important. And also I feel like what people, this is my hot take I guess, but I feel like people on the high, I don't know if I should say this, but also like I feel like they're thinking like broadcast TV is dying and kids don't want to watch shows live anymore, and I don't think that's necessarily true. Because there's been shows like The Last of Us or Game
Survivor.
of Thrones. Yeah,
just
like
a weekly
thing.
Appointment viewing, like how American Idol used to be.
Yeah, and then people, you still see it because I think social media is a big part of it. Like
Yeah.
everyone wants to tweet as the episode is airing
Yeah.
because that's what their friends are doing. So they want to be a part of it. So I'm always in the idea of like, if we're able to have a show, like Abbott is a good example. Like Abbott kind of broke that barrier a little bit. There are people watching it live because
Yeah.
they want to talk about it as it's airing because FOMO, obviously. They don't want to be on Twitter and see everyone else talking about it and they're not a part of it. And it's not like you can rewind it and you have to start wherever they start. So no, if I want to be a part of this, I have to watch it as it airs.
Yeah.
So I feel like if we put a lot of attention into that, we can necessarily bring that back. We can definitely bring that back.
I also think that like reality and like unscripted content tends to have more of the effect of like wanting that. Like obviously I just used like Survivor and American Idols, but like I know Drag Race, it's like every Friday there's bars up and down Santa Monica Boulevard that it's just viewing parties.
Yeah.
And like I just don't think like I think you're right. I think it is like social media, but that spans like so many different ages.
Yeah.
They just want to be a part of it because also spoilers.
Yeah.
I don't
It's like impossible to be on the same page talking with I can't talk about Fallout with anyone because everyone's on a different episode.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
The whole
Right.
community feel is completely gone.
Yeah. And so, but every now and then you have that show that everyone wants to just, whether they like it or not, they strictly just want to be involved. And I think we forget how important that is or how strong that really is. And you see it happening here and there. So I guess just like making those, like everyone believe that is a possibility instead of thinking like, it doesn't matter if it's live, people are going to watch it on Hulu the next day anyway. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think The Rookie is also a big example because it is our highest rated drama live, you know, like a lot of people are watching it live. So it's happening, you know? And if we can get everyone to feel like you have to be a part of this community to really understand what's happening, like everyone will watch it live.
Are you part of ratings and figuring out what, like how many people are watching what?
No, I'm not in that department. I mean, we do get what's the word? Like a document telling us the ratings for each episode, but I'm not involved in that at all.
Can you tell me that document? I'm still trying to understand.
It's not really, I guess
Costs
the
a lot
document
of
is the wrong
money.
word.
Yeah, no.
It's just like stats, honestly.
It's just that.
Yeah.
I guess document is the
You can
wrong
look
word.
that
It's just an email with numbers.
You probably look this up, Hayden, but
No,
or pay Erwin hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, pay me and I'll tell you everything. It is free and it's
still trying to-
available
For the
online.
next short, for the next Ern's next short.
Yeah.
Wait, these documents, I guess I should.
It's like stats. It's only stats in an
Stats.
email.
Yeah, document was the wrong word. Sorry.
It's like stats in sex sense, so it's in an email.
Okay. I'm just saying, like,
Hayden got stuck on the document.
where are these documents? Put them up.
I want to see them
I want
now.
to see them now. No, I mean they're like my livelihood. If
Yeah.
a show gets back on, if it's a show that I was on, and like I have, for me right now, I just don't know what to look if I need to know if a show is successful or not, and it might go on to a next season.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like it's really good knowing if something's going to get picked up again, and I still am trying to figure out how to understand if something gets picked up.
I mean, look, there is ratings are definitely a big part of it, and also to answer your question, there's websites online where you can like, we don't necessarily track live data, or like
I know this is outside of your department, so please don't feel like you have to explain it. This is still me just being like just not
just curious.
Yeah, just curious.
Yes, it's not my department, so if I say anything that's not true, sorry to your audience, but there are websites like I think TV Finale or something is one of them. Like they do next day ratings. Like you could literally get on it right now and see how the episodes that aired yesterday did. You know, so like at ABC we don't necessarily track that anymore. We're more focused on the Live Plus 3, Live Plus 7, and then basically what that means is like people that DVR didn't watch it later. Or
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where it's like gone are the days of everybody is watching Johnny Carson. You get that number of that day, and then you're like, Johnny Carson's good because everyone watched it that night. Time for the next episode. But like now you have everybody watched it live that day, and then everybody watched it again on the rerun the next day, and then some people watched it on Hulu and like a week from now. And
We do have that. I know they don't really like. It's like there's not something that we see that often, but I know there's people looking
there's
at
just not that guaranteed number that's like this is the number of that one day.
Well, it's also way more convoluted now because these different streaming services are trying to take viewers from other streaming services. So if there's a poorly performing late night show, they might keep it on just to develop that angle of their
IP,
their catalog.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter what the ratings are. They just know they need to have a late night show to compete later on. You know, there might be complex strategies going on. So it's like number isn't yay or nay anymore, I don't think. This is my guess.
Yeah, and you got to remember, when it comes to like broadcast, it's all whatever the advertisements ones. This is like what we have upfronts in May. It's us to sell the shows that we have for our advertising to advertise in our shows, you know, on our episodes, I guess.
Well, it just goes to show I still don't know what's going on. As much as you and Sam can explain it, I'll still just smile and wave.
There's still a lot that I don't know. Trust me.
It's like nuances. It's like, it's so wild. And I'm sure you also feel it's like very relationship. I mean, everything in this business is so relationship based.
Yeah, and also there's days that you're like, I feel like I should know this, but I don't. So I'll go up to like my boss and I'll be like, hey, sorry if this is a dumb question. I feel like I'm way too deep into my job to not know this, but how does blah, blah, blah work or something? And then he'll like explain to me and he's like, no, don't worry. Like, so there's still a lot that I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess random question. So like in terms of like a network like ABC, I guess there could be like a whole unscripted side of it. But is there a separate unscripted, like, because you work on scripted, like, is there a separate current and development team in the unscripted side?
There's a separate team, yeah.
But it's still like, but it is just like a separate, like current development, but it's just for reality.
I think it's slowly everything gonna kind of be like you guys is starting to merge. Again, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
because like I'm curious, because I was like something like Jimmy Kimmel or something. Like hypothetically, this is a show that's been on forever and ever, and hypothetically, wouldn't that be a current programming kind of?
There is a current executive. There is an executive that covers the show and unscripted. It just we're on the same floor. We work for the same network. We probably sit next to each other. But it's still completely different.
He calls him
world.
Jimmy, actually.
I call him out. They're all Jimmys to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jim 1, Jim 2.
Jimbo, Jimmy,
James, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess I was curious. I think rationally, I was like, okay, they've gotta have different teams, but it's all the same. So I'm curious. It's just like, are the meetings the same? Just different shows that we're talking about?
They have their own world.
I'm sure their own process. Yeah.
Like one of my bosses literally has an office next to alternative executive, and I could sit here and not know what he does all day. So
What are your next steps career-wise?
I'm trying to keep shadowing. I'm going to try to keep shadowing. I'm doing another short. As I mentioned earlier, and that one I wrote with a friend, so I co-wrote it. I'm directing it. Hopefully, we're going to shoot it in June. We're in the money process again, so we're just waiting to get the money to actually shoot it. We're actually going to see a location after this.
Oh, cool. Well, come with.
If you guys want to come, by all means, let's all go together. It's kind of far, but we can all go.
Can you pitch us? Give us a little
log
taste
line
of what this one's going to be about.
Boy, if no spoilers, if you don't want to share, but
Emotional genre.
I don't have an exact log line.
Log lines are stupid anyway.
But this is what I'll tell you. It's about a couple whose wife has brought up the idea of bringing a third person into their sexual life.
Okay, fun.
Yeah. So, and I feel very lucky to be working on this one because this particular short is coming out of the first one because I got to go on set to one of our shows, The Company You Keep, and unfortunately I didn't come back for another season. But the director that was directing that day, she was really nice. Her name's Anna Mastro, and she watched my short and she praised it, and I just couldn't believe it. But she introduced me to this other director, who's an actor director, John Huertas, who he's an actor, but he's turned into a director. He's been on This Is Us for a little while. He's directed on The Rookie also. And it was his idea to do another short. He's like, you already did something with the little dialogue because you wanted to focus on character. Let's do the exact opposite now. Let's have something with a lot of dialogue. It could be about a couple arguing. And the idea of another man being brought into their sexual life was brought by him. And I really liked it. And I was like, okay, that is definitely interesting. But is it interesting to keep us engaged for the whole short? It's probably going to be like 10 minutes. So I'm like, is this interesting enough to keep us engaged for 10 minutes, right? So I kind of brought up the idea of like, okay, what if they're arguing and we see different arguments from their past, but they kind of feel like they're the same arguments and we kind of smoothly transition into those flashbacks and come back and forth and have that feel like just one big argument, even though the topics of each argument is different. Because what we're telling us is like, okay, this isn't they're arguing not necessarily because of their request. There's maybe some lack of communication there. There's something that's missing in their relationship. They struggle with something throughout the years. And they're trying to fill that hole, literally and figuratively, I guess.
Oh, wait, that should be a little 2 seconds. Sorry, to figure that out. I was like, no, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, but I wanted to focus on the couple internally, and then he really liked that, and then he's been very involved since the beginning. I sent them an outline. I sent them a few versions of the script, and I think that idea alone was interesting. But again, like, how do we make that more interesting so we can stay with them? And then this is, I guess it's a spoiler or not, but like, we still don't know if we want to reveal what the main argument is from the top or at the middle, or if we want to leave it at the end so we can be like, okay, what the hell are these people arguing about? There's something that we're still changing. And I'm going to write a version where we don't know what the argument is until the very end to see how that works. So we're still working that idea out, because at the end of the day, like, you can have an idea, but there's millions of different ways to tell it, right?
Totally. Do you think, like, going forward, you mostly want to direct stuff that you write, or are you still also open to finding other scripts?
Both. I stopped writing for a long time because I got it in my head, and for some reason I started telling myself that I was a better director than a writer, so I just stopped writing. But a lot of people have been pushing me to start writing again, and I'm so thankful for that, because now that I started doing it, I like it. I enjoy it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I'm good at it, but I feel like I understand it. And this is why I was like, okay, if I'm gonna write another short, I want to partner up with someone that's really good. So I asked my friend, his name's Neil, who in my opinion is a really, really good writer, because he's done this. He's a writer through and through. So I'm like, okay, let's do this together so I can learn from you. Because I still feel like there's a lot for me to learn when it comes to writing, but I like that. I have written another short that was 100% written by me that I'm very proud of. I don't know if I'm going to direct that one or see if I can make it into a short. It was kind of more of a, let me see if I can do this type of thing. And I'm happy with it, actually. Jo, my boss, has read it, and she liked it. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, she's a network executive, so obviously if she's liking my work, that means a lot. And obviously you can tell when people are just telling you that it's good, because that's what you want to hear, or when they're being genuine, and I feel like she was being genuine. But to answer your question, so aside from doing the other short, like, if you tell me, like, do you want to come and direct TV tomorrow, I would 100% jump on that. But I still have to prove myself. I think memories prove that I can do it. But also, people want to know, like, okay, is this a one-time thing? So I just have to build my portfolio. I have 2 plans, right? One of them would be to do another short, keep applying to specifically the Disney Directors Program, because they guarantee an episode of television, and then get into the program and then start directing TV from there, right? If that doesn't work out, like, there's also this program called Launchpad that they just announced their season 3, and I've been waiting for that season for literally 2 years, because they finance a short for you that eventually goes on Disney Plus. So wow. Yeah, and I've met, or I know directors and writers who have done that program and then landed on either got episodes of TV right after, or got into the Disney Directors Program after, and then got their episode through that, right? So that is another path that I could take. And then, all this to say that I want to shoot this short in June for different reasons, because first of all, I want to have it for this year's Directors Program, for Launchpad that just opened up. And also, as you guys said, my wife is pregnant, and the baby's due June 30th. So I was like, okay, I have to, like, get this done, like, as soon as possible.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Let's go into, so that's your up and coming future, but like 10 years from now, where would you want to see yourself?
Professionally directing, because obviously I'm already directing now, but I want to be directing professionally, whether that's TV or already doing features. Like, I love it. I really like it. I got this advice. I wouldn't say an advice, but I was talking to a director who got into the program and then got her episode of TV through that program. And she has a 9-year-old daughter, and she's like, there's directors that want to direct every single day of the year. And she was like, but in all honesty, you get paid well. So I'm fine directing 3 to 5 episodes a year just so I can spend time with my family. And I'm like, oh, there you go. That's what I want. Like, am I going to say no to opportunities? No. Like, obviously I'll take what I can get, but also, like, I'd be happy like just having a certain amount of episodes a year and then have enough time with my family. Because right now it's just hustling. Like I'm literally like gone all day long except the weekends because I'm at work and up until 7 p.m. Then after that, I'm either networking or writing or going to see locations or seeing if I can meet other crew members. So it's just like it's a lot of work that I'm happy to do, but also I'm ready to like slow down a little bit. And I feel like
be with your family,
be with my family a little bit, and be able to do both. I think that's a luxury that not a lot of us have. And I think she's right. Like you thankfully make good money that you don't necessarily have to be working every single day. That doesn't mean like, no, I don't want to work anymore, because directing itself, it is hard and it is a lot of work, but it just means like it gives me the options to do both.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of also think of this podcast almost like a little a time capsule. So in a similar vein to Hayden's question, if we were to record a message right now and we played it back for you 10 years from now, what would you like to tell yourself?
It's going to be worth it. The hustle, the running back and forth, meeting everyone, the exhaustion, I know that it's worth it, and that should I talk to myself like it's in first person?
Yeah.
Like you're directing now, whether that's TV or features, I know you're doing it because of all the work that you put into it. Till this day, I still get people saying like, "Oh, you're so lucky, you get to be on set, you get to meet all these people." But the work that it took to get there was a lot, and I know it was worth it. And I know I'll be directing in 10 years.
Yeah. And there's this constant proving yourself, like to yourself, to your family, to your friends. And I remember it was maybe a couple years ago where it was for my mom and dad were always supportive, but my extended family were like, "Oh, film, okay,
yeah,
and you're sure not like, what about business? You get a business degree and then you do films." But it wasn't until it was Farmer Wants a Wife that I worked on, and some of my I guess I shouldn't call them that. I was gonna say Republican correspondent family members. It was like, "You did that show," and like they instantly saw my career as like they validated it for the first time.
Yeah.
And I mean, these were the same people who are like, "You should get a business degree. Come on, you're not going to make any money out of that." And now they're seeing like, "Oh, you're making money out of that now." And so like, I didn't need to prove myself to them, but it was kind of a cool feeling of being like, "Oh yeah, I just kept on doing my shit." And they were like, "Yeah, he's doing his shit."
Yeah, I'm glad that you're experiencing that, because it is a really good feeling. There were family members that would tell me like, "Oh my God, yeah, that's so awesome that you want to do it. Go ahead and do it." And then like behind my back, they'd be like, "He's wasting his time. Like he's wasting his time in school. Like that's such a waste of money."
Yeah.
And those are the same people that are texting me now and be like, "I knew you could always do it." And look, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna be like, "I told you guys, get out of my life" or whatever. No, I'm like, no, like I did it, and it's hard. And now, if you guys want to be a part of it, let me help you. You know, like I don't have any grudges or anything like that. Like I get it, because it is a hard decision to make, because this isn't easy. Like it's a full-time job on its own. So you're practically doing two things at once. So you can't get a business degree and then go into film right after, because they're two different things. I mean, could you? Yeah, probably. But like you have to give it 110%, and like just be focused on that. And it's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting, and at times
It's so rewarding though when you're on when you get to have those moments though.
Yeah. I mean, look, I also have to give a shout out to my wife, because there were many times that I was like very frustrated, and I was like tired, and I was like, "Oh my God, when is this going to happen?" And then she was like, "No, like count your wins. You started at a small management company that give you no benefits, but getting paid $450 a week, and like not having enough money for even a cup of coffee, and now you're at ABC." That is such a blessing, you know. And then also like working at Disney, I'm able to take my family to Disney whenever they want to go, and I think that's a blessing of its own. And she was right, like the work has paid off. Like my network is a lot bigger than I imagined, and the people that are supporting me and the people that are believing in me there are a lot more of those people, and that alone means a lot. It means a lot. Like, yes, I'm not directing TV yet, but I have people in my corner that believe that I can do it. So it's such a nice feeling to not be the only person believing in yourself. Like, you have people pushing for you. And my wife, I mean, she moved to LA with me, so she has always believed in me, and it's always nice to have that. And seeing more and more, like, I've said this several times. It's a little cheesy, but like, directing is no longer a dream. Like, I see it happening. It's just a matter of when I'm gonna get there. You know.
That's awesome.
Hey, your shots are gonna be on an episode.
I know.
Tuesday.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like 2 seconds long, but it's just like,
Hey, that's your idea, though.
Well, we got
we should pull just the 2 shots.
Yeah, or let us know.
Yeah, it's gonna be 5 seconds
like,
long.
this is
Professional directing reel.
Yeah.
Just 2 shots.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. That was me. Hire me on the next episode, please.
But thanks so much for being on.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
thank you guys for having me. This is the first time I've ever done this, and I had so much fun. So
Yeah.
Great.
I know I ramble too much sometimes. But
No, this was great.
Too much rambling, but we'll work
How
on
dare
it.
you ramble on a podcast?
sorry, guys.
Never
Make
do
sure you
that.
guys fix it in post. Make me look
Yeah.
good. Make me look.
Get on that.
I'm cutting it all right now.
It's gonna be 2 minutes long. Sorry, everyone. This is all the good footage we got.
Do we have an outro question? We didn't really discuss the
Okay, what's your favorite show that you're currently covering?
into the mic.
What's your favorite show that you're covering?
The very show that I'm covering. Oh my God.
That's a hot take.
So
It's like a
Wait, did
favorite
you say
show.
least favorite or favorite?
Favorite.
my favorite show. Oh, I have 3.
Okay, top 3.
Top 3: the Rookie, The Good Doctor, and Will Trent. I really like those 3, specifically Will Trent, because they're doing a lot. They're kind of trying to break that edge of being
Yeah.
a network TV and a different, which is not always like it's always like it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But they're doing it well, and I think that for 2 seasons they've been consistently good. And we just got to see the finale recently, and it's actually a really good finale. And it's like, it's good to work with those type of people, and it's also proved that network TV is still good, guys. Like,
Yeah.
It's still good.
It's still good.
Yeah,
All right, watch Will Trent.
yeah. Watch Will Trent,
But also The Rookie.
watch The Rookie. Watch The Good Doctor. Last
And
season.
we should say this: watch Memory Swim if we can already, or where will we be able to once it is released?
still-
to the
I
public?
have one festival. Thank you, by the way. I have one festival left. But I'm happy to share it with anyone and everyone, and then it'll be available for everyone after.
All right, a
So-
little taste.
So right now it's hit you up direct, DM you for like the direct link,
For the
and
direct
then
link.
later on just follow your page.
Yeah,
and
it'll
see
be
what
on
it is.
Vimeo. It'll be on YouTube. I'll put a link on Instagram, and also I don't even use Facebook anymore, but I'll put it on Facebook too, I guess.
All right.
Cool. Yeah.
Covered everything.
Thank you, guys.
This was an Indieknot Films production, edited by Hayden Garrett, music by Harrison Garrett. Do you have any feedback, any questions, topics you want us to cover? Email us at indieknotfilms@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to help us out, please rate and review from wherever you're listening.